explain in the simplest terms what happens now since this case is being allowed to proceed?
Well, it's important to understand that what the judge has ordered is that he is to be made available for the deposition. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be answering questions. And quite frankly, I would be shocked if he does. He still has a Fifth Amendment protection. He's still facing open criminal charges for financial crimes. And even if this case itself involving the boat crash doesn't lead to criminal charges itself, he still can claim that he has a right to protect himself from any possible incrimination that may be related to that. So what will happen? It won't be an empty exercise. And this is why the judge made the ruling. He will have to make himself available, but if he does and decides not to answer questions, he'll invoke the Fifth. That can be used in certain circumstances in civil cases to explain to jurors, if it ever does go to a jury trial, that he did in fact invoke the Fifth, and they can draw whatever conclusions that they want from that, something that is never done in a criminal trial. In fact, the idea that the detectives even attempted to interview a defendant in a criminal trial is never brought in front of the jurors. So very different circumstances in a civil case.
All right, so we are talking about civil cases here, and the family of Mallory Beach has filed civil cases against several different parties. Now, Mallory's family calls the attempt by the store, because the store attempted to throw out this case, her family calls that, quote, borderline slanderous. Do you agree?
That's an interesting take on it. I don't know if I would go that far, but I can certainly understand their position in this. They've been harmed in an incredible kind of way that many of us would hope we would never have to experience anything close to that. So you can understand at least their vitriol and strong feelings on all of this.
Absolutely, because the store itself, the convenience store where the alcohol was sold, is named. The clerk who sold the alcohol is named. Another party named Buster Murdaugh, Alex's oldest son. But there was a settlement reached between Buster and Mallory Beach's family. That happened earlier this year. It was an undisclosed amount, so we do not know how much they settled for. But how likely is this case, against the store, against the clerk, how likely is that to be resolved as well by a settlement?
That's hard to tell. I think they do have a strong case, though. There is a line of case law that says that if a person, whether it be a bar or a liquor store, overserves someone or serves someone illegally, if they're underage, there is some attendant liability involved in all of that. And that's how they're able to pursue and bring in the liquor store in this case. It comes down to really something as simple as money. If they're able to work out something wherever all the parties and their insurance companies feel that that's an appropriate way to settle it, then you could understand why we might hear something rather than this going all the way to a trial.
And just really quickly, Joshua, do you think what happened in Alex Murdaugh's murder cases, that he was in fact found guilty, do you think that could in any way influence this case by Mallory Beach's family?
Well, he certainly doesn't have the resources to fight it in the way that he did before. He doesn't have the influence over that community that he did before. I think you're seeing a lot of people who are starting to come forward and realize that they no longer hold dominion over that low country area like they used to before. And even in this instance of what we're talking about today, the fact that he can't even give a deposition and will likely have to plead the Fifth, that can have an effect on the case as well and might encourage settlement.
Yeah, and we're seeing pictures there of Stephen Smith, a 19-year-old who was killed. That's another case connected to this Murdaugh family, potentially. We will see what happens. That case has since been reopened. Joshua Ritter, we certainly appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.